herb knife to get on this herb mic. You know I'm alert, right? You know that it ain't nothing to serve, right? And I'll be killing tracks to the...
Oh, welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We'll be talking about SmackDown from November the 4th, 2022. We're also going to do Crown Jewel predictions. All right, so SmackDown was actually a solid show. It was taped the previous week, if I remember correctly, because a lot of these people, well, this whole crew wasn't going to Saudi Arabia. From what I looked at this card, I think only the Usos were going to Saudi Arabia. Everybody else is still going to be in the United States. So, because the Usos are on this show, you know the show was taped. So we're going to talk about the press conference too a little bit. Not really get into any details about the press conference. As a matter of fact, let's get into it right now. The press conference is just a very cool idea. Triple H has brought these press conferences in. It's a rip on the UFC, boxing. WWE used to do them. Occasionally, here and there, they would do a press conference. They would do one for like WrestleMania or something like that. So now Triple H is doing it for all the big events. And I like that concept. I love it. It gives the guys another opportunity to cut promos, to, you know, get the media and the fans excited. And I think the Crown Jewel press conference was tremendous. Of course, it sent all of our little secretaries of state, like Brandon Thurston, into an absolute tizzy, because they gave Mohammed bin Salman, one of the crown princes, I think that's what his name is. They gave him a replica WWF championship that is has some Arabic writing on it. And this is that one time, 2 times a year where people pretend like they know everything about Saudi Arabia. People who couldn't probably find Saudi Arabia on a map, all of a sudden care so much about what Saudis do and where, what the Saudis are doing and all that kind of stuff. So, to me, it's a tired argument. I saw with the guy he's a former writer for WWE. There's a lot of venomous former writers who probably got fired or whatever, who now hate the company. And I think Brian Solomon is now one of them. The guy who, he wrote the book on the Sheik. I haven't finished that book. I started it. I loved it. I just never finished it. But, he was talking about, how the women have to dress over in Saudi Arabia, as if he gives a fuck about how the women dress at any other time. So it's just another one of those phony virtue signaling situations. And, it's not like they were wearing potato sacks or anything like that. They just have to cover up extra skin. They were, it wasn't like they were forced to wear veils or anything like that. But the crowd was extremely excited for this event. They were, involved with everything. It was fun. They did a weigh-in for Omos and Braun Strowman. Omos weighed 416 pounds. Braun weighed 335. They did that stare down in which Braun was able to bury his face into Omos's chest. It was a weird visual, but at the same time, it was kind of like, okay, you got to sell the story of the match. And so they did a good job of selling the story by having, Braun put his face in Omos's chest. This is a far cry from the days where they were trying to get Braun to wrestle in lifts to make him seem taller. He's still a big dude, and he's no small man, not by any stretch of the imagination. Just Omos is huge. He's a colossus. That's just it. The Roman Reigns, Logan Paul thing was funny. With Logan Paul bringing out his brother, and which, we kind of figured that was going to happen. It's going to be enough Saudi money to go around for everybody. Paul Heyman was there, but the Usos were not there. Of course, MVP, I forgot to mention, MVP will not be accompanying Omos to Saudi Arabia. People, I think, and I was one of them, I think, that jumped to the conclusion that maybe he wouldn't be able to travel due to his convictions. But on Twitter, he said that wasn't it. I guess he just chose not to go because he wasn't going to go with Omos. And then they wrote him off SmackDown by having Braun Strowman beat him up. So, okay. Having Omos without MVP, it gives Omos an excuse to lose, because now MVP can say, I wasn't there giving them guidance or whatever. So we'll talk about that during the predictions, but that's just one of my little predictions that I think we can go with here. Back to Logan Paul and Roman Reigns, however. The fans were, of course, really involved with this. They were chanting KSI, who I'm thinking that's one of the YouTubers that these guys fought. They were kind of going back and forth on Logan and Jake Paul being baby faces and heels. They seemed to really want to like them, but at the same time didn't like them. They liked Roman more. They was also chanting for Sami Zayn. And Roman said that they don't deserve Sami Zayn, which was great. That was fantastic. Made even funnier about the fact that Sami Zayn is not coming to Saudi Arabia. No way. No way, no how. He is not coming to Saudi Arabia. So it was a fun little segment. All right, so the first match on the show was Liv Morgan defeating Sonya Deville in a no disqualification match. This is Liv, choke me daddy Morgan, because now she laughs at pain. She's smiling every time she falls, gets hit with a weapon or gets powerbombed on a stack of chairs. She's smiling. So this is good. This was fine, I guess. She needs to stop doing the tope suicida, because it looks like she's going to die. She looks like a baby, fighting, drowning every time she tries to do it. Every time she tries to run and jump between those ropes, it's like if you just throw a toddler in the deep end. How do you just start doggy paddling? Just her tope suicida looks like shit. Like, she's small enough and she should be able to jump over the top rope, but she's probably not athletic enough to do it, which means she's likely not athletic enough to be jumping at all, period, anyway. She should probably just jump off the ring apron or something like that. But Liv Morgan's going to end up hurting somebody or hurting herself doing that tope suicida, because it is not good. They did a promo with Emma where she talked about how she didn't think she would ever come back, but she had something to prove. She was then cut off by Xia Li, which I was like, Xia Li still exists. She didn't get sent to the Shadow Realm. So her English is actually not bad. I was saying the only thing that Emma proved was that she was weak. Emma, used the excuse that she was wrestling Ronda Rousey, and then she shoved Xia Li. And I was like, ooh, okay, I'm interested. Getting Xia Li on TV. Okay, thumbs up. All right. There was a vignette for Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. We talked about them enough. We'll get into predictions later. Ricochet versus LA Knight. LA Knight wins with a roll up of the pull of the tights. They didn't completely bury Ricochet. Ricochet cut a terrible promo. He's just not good at that. He needs a manager or a charisma transplant. He needs like a mute gimmick or something. He's just not good at whatever they're trying to get him to do. So he's just a work rate guy. But LA Knight, very good at the mic. So young lady Samantha Irvin introduced LA Knight, which was fine. LA Knight then said that he was a once-in-a-generation talent, a megastar. He then said that the incels are going to jump on the gravy train that is LA Knight. Then he called the ring announcer Samantha Irvin a Pop-Tart and said that her introduction was not good enough, just like it wasn't good enough last week. And he said that she's mystified by the Kavorka of LA Knight. I don't know what that means, but I know he started saying it. I think he might have started saying it in TNA, his Kavorka. So I don't know if I should Google that or not, but it sounds funnier without me knowing what it is. In any event, he got attacked by Ricochet. They had the match, and LA Knight wins. Understated piece of this storyline, of course, is that Samantha Irvin is Ricochet's girlfriend. They haven't mentioned that yet. I wonder if they will. So it might actually make Ricochet a little bit more interesting, but we'll see. The Viking Raiders are still doing black paint. They're still playing in paint. Valhalla is still awaiting. It seems like they're never going to actually show up, unless they're actually going to show up next week, which would be, let's say it'll be stupid. But let's move on very quickly from the Viking Raiders, because who cares about the Viking Raiders? I don't. Sami Zayn talking about the bloodline rolling, and the Usos were going to break the all-time tag team record. Jey Uso wants to go and yell at the brutes, which Sami Zayn begged him not to do, but, Jay's going to do what Jay do. He said this ain't a bloodline thing, it's a Uso thing. To which actually Jimmy agreed, and then they go to, bother the brawling brutes. So they went to the ring, Jay and Jimmy, just Jay and Jimmy. And basically they just told the brutes that they were the twos and they're the ones, and they're going to be the longest reigning tag team champions. This brought out the New Day. To which one of them, I'm pretty sure it was Kofi, told them to settle their tea kettle. And I immediately was like, you know what? that's Natalia level stuff with me. That's heat with me. Like, when you say shit like settle your tea kettle, I want to throw you outside. You know, I want to throw you into traffic. I cannot stand when people say stuff like that. I hate it so much. It's so corny. Now, they say that they're going to be rooting for the Brawling Brutes, but just in case the Brawling Brutes win, or just in case the Usos win, rather, they got next. They're going to be back waiting for them. And the match was set up, of course, next week, New Day versus the winner of the Brawling Brutes and the Usos. The Brutes attacked the Usos from behind. Not very baby-facey, but whatever. Then they started stomping out the Usos. And then the New Day joined in and started stomping the Usos. I'm like, wait a minute. Who are the baby faces here? So then Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa run to the ring. I'm guessing they're the baby faces because, you know, Sami is kind of becoming a baby face in this situation. But putting the Usos in this situation was very weird. So Sami and Solo made the save. Set up a nice little 8-man tag here. Now, why they wouldn't go that route and they would still go with the Usos and the New Day in a tag team match, I don't know. But, I don't know. I also have no idea what they're going to, you know, get into when they start getting into it. You know what I mean? All right. Rey Mysterio cut a promo. He talked about how much he loves WWE. He gave his whole life to the business and that he shared his love with the business with his son. And that he misses his son, but he needs to show them that the fight never ends. He talked about feeling the pain of that chop from last week and going to turn that pain into rage to cut down Gunther. I don't think anybody believed this. So sad for Rey. I don't think anybody believed Rey. Gunther, later in the show, said he's going to defend his Intercontinental Championship with dignity, respect, and honor. And that Rey has no honor. That's why his son turned his back on him. I was like, ooh, that was a dirty one. You know, that was a little knife to the ribs. The main event, Rey Mysterio versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. This match was very good. A little slow in certain parts, but very good. One I like about these Gunther matches that there's very little subtle wrinkles in these matches that you have to be paying attention to. For instance, Rey blocking a body slam by locking his legs around his arm. Like, I'd never seen that before. Something tells me that was actually a Gunther idea because I've never seen Rey do it before. And he's small enough where that works. And Gunther sold it. Like, he kept trying to go down with the body slam, but couldn't because Rey had his arms. And I thought it was great psychology, you know? So I thought that was very good. Rey got powerbombed on the ring apron. Probably shouldn't. That's bad psychology. He got powerbombed on the ring apron and he continued to fight. Gunther was vicious in this match, which of course he should be. Rey actually kicked out of one of Gunther's powerbombs. Considering his powerbomb isn't that good, we're just gonna let it ride. All right, powerbomb isn't the best with Gunther, so we're gonna let it slide. But the finish was Gunther yanking Rey off the mat into a clothesline or a short arm lariat, kind of. It was kind of brutal. I kind of liked it. It seemed like a finish you could only do with Rey. So this was fine. You know, I didn't hate this. I thought this was pretty good, actually. Bray Wyatt had a promo, and it was not really promoted. Like, it wasn't a super promoted, like, Bray Wyatt speaks kind of promo. It was just him backstage. And he's talking about how he doesn't like to share his feelings. And it makes it hard, you know, that he's trying to do something he never got used to doing. And people keep interrupting him. And people are playing with him. Like, you shouldn't do that. And people are interrupting him. Some guy backstage starts, like, knocking over cans or something like that. And Bray kind of flips out. He goes over to the guy and he says that, you know, it's like, you know, when you get cut off in traffic, you know, and how he hates himself because he wants to grab the guy's head and smash it into the wall. And he wanted the guy to look into his soul, look into his eyes and tell him that he was sorry for interrupting him and he'll never do it again. And of course, the guy is freaked out by Bray Wyatt, you know, who is maintaining his rage. He's maintaining it. But you have the interspersed Uncle Howdy and some other kind of interesting things going on there, who is calling him a liar and all kinds of other things. There was a woman, I believe it was, with like the rings in her cheeks, like the character from Saw. I forget what the character's name is, but the character from Saw who has like the rings on their cheek. You know what I'm talking about. You probably seen the movie. I haven't watched a whole horror movie in forever because they all suck. But I know the character when I see it. A lot of people have been trying to ask the question what that is, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So the guy gives Bray Wyatt his apology. Bray Wyatt is, just kind of lets the guy go. I'm not really liking the septum piercing. Not a big fan of the septum piercing or on him or Sasha Banks. We'll talk about Sasha Banks later too. I actually forgot about the Sasha Banks video. When I did news and notes, I forgot about it. So we'll talk about it near the end. How about that? So I'm not really a big fan of the septum ring. I just think it's not something you would wear in a fight. And I don't understand like why everybody wants to walk around like a prize cow all of a sudden, especially on a man. Like it's just a weird thing for anybody to have, that damn septum piercing. Like that thing is weird. It's a strange thing to put on your face. But Bray Wyatt is obviously battling his inner demons. He's fighting himself. But this is kind of what we knew already, right? We knew that he was already doing battle with his inner demons, doing battle with himself, because that he pretty much set that part up. When he came back and he's talking about how you didn't let him go, you kept bringing him back, and we thought, of course, some people thought he was talking to the audience, but we knew he was talking to the various characters that have been around him all the time. So now we got Bray, and he's got this sort of bad influence thing going on here, where Uncle Howdy is just saying like, this is the real you. The real you is not the guy who overshares. The real you is not the guy who wants friends and all that kind of stuff. The real you is a monster, and that's the guy that he's trying to contain, keep that guy from coming out again. So, okay, I see it. I'm still not sure how a wrestling match comes out of this, but I'm not, as long as it's interesting, I'm willing to sort of ignore the ring part. I've even heard people say that he might not wrestle a match before WrestleMania. I don't know about that. I think he actually will wrestle a match. He's going to have to. At some point, he's going to have to beat up somebody. And it even might just be a squash match where he wins a match in like 2 minutes. But he's going to have to wrestle somebody. But I like what they're doing with him so far. Okay. So Shayna Baszler, she defeats Natalya in a match that was far too long. It drove me nuts because Natalya is in it. But it was good that Ronda Rousey was in Shayna Baszler's corner. And this is where they're really doing the bad influence, because they've kind of been going to each other, saying, when are you going to smarten up? When are you going to, wake up and, fulfill your true potential? And so now Ronda is in Shayna's corner. And after Shayna wins by, choking out Natalya, Ronda just kind of urges Shayna to continue, which leads to Shayna ramming her knee into Natalya's nose and busting her nose open. And I was like, okay, finally we're back on track with Shayna Baszler. I'm okay with this. I wanted them as a tag team. They're friends. It's natural for them to be hanging out together and doing stuff together. They're similar characters. So this is good. I did see a lot of people say that Shayna Baszler is coming across like a sidekick in this situation, which of course that was going to be the case anyway, because Ronda Rousey is a star. So if you're not Ronda Rousey, you're going to be Ronda Rousey's sidekick. Shayna Baszler kind of responded that she's happy for her friend's success, and she kind of joins in it, but that wouldn't be, she wouldn't call herself a sidekick. But I mean, Shayna Baszler is like a 40-year-old woman at this point, man. She just got to go with the she going wherever the car going, She just put her bag in the trunk and hopped in the passenger seat, and she's going. It is what it is. Ronda driving this motherfucking train right now, okay? So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this, what they got going on here. All right. Again, we mentioned earlier about MVP and Braun Strowman. No need to go through that again. Santos Escobar will be wrestling Shinsuke Nakamura next week. That match I'm very excited for. I wish it was more, storyline put onto it. But they showed a vignette for Legado del Fantasma that showed actually Santos Escobar rolling a cigar. Now, he didn't smoke the cigar because they can't smoke on television. But it was still a very cool visual that he was, doing something with his hands. And he's, speaking in Spanish and in English, saying that he always thought that Santos Escobar was very intelligent. But his choice to join Hit Row last week forced Santos Escobar to make an example out of Shinsuke Nakamura. Zelina Vega will then say, after what happens to Nakamura, everybody will know that the Legado del Fantasma Empire cannot be stopped. And I like this match, despite the fact that both guys need to win. Nakamura has been beat to death on this show, and you can always cheat, so we can get away with that. But it's an absolute must that Santos Escobar wins this match. It's a must. If he's going to be taken serious at all on this roster, he must win this match. He must win. This is a must-win situation for Santos Escobar. All right, they also announced a SmackDown World Cup to begin next week, and they gave us literally no information about what this means, what it is, how is it going to be determined, what's going to happen. I look, and maybe by the time you hear this, WWE would have released more information. I'm just saying that as of right now, I got nothing. Matter of fact, let me check. Okay, so I checked. Thankfully, I thought about it as I was talking. But apparently it's going to be an 8-man tournament, SmackDown only. And they're going to decide who is the SmackDown World Cup winner. So they got to create something because Roman ain't coughing them belts up. So it's got to be something. They can't job out everybody to Shane McMahon again. So I don't know what they're going to do this time. The World Cup concept, as a concept, I don't like it because it feels TNA to me. It's something that definitely you saw in TNA. Now, WWE is going to be a little bit different because they can pull different wrestlers from different countries, and you'll be familiar with them. Like if they had to have a Japanese wrestler. You know how many Japanese wrestlers are on the roster? I think there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5. 3 of them are women, Sarai, Io, Asuka. And I guess 3 of them are men because Nakamura, Akira Tozawa, Akira Jiro. 6. So it's 6 Japanese wrestlers on the WWE roster. Since it's only men apparently. Now they didn't say men, but I'm going to guess it's men. So you can cut out Asuka, Io, and Sarai. I don't know what Sarai is anyway. She might be in the Shadow Realm. So at least we know. We have some idea. There's some vaguely European wrestlers too that you could bring in. Probably some NXT UK guys, maybe like a Tyler Bate or something like that could be involved with the tournament. I don't think they have any wrestlers from France, but they do have Kofi Kingston, who's legitimately African. He's from Ghana. You have some Canadians on the roster. You got Mexicans on the roster. Santos Escobar is legitimately Mexican. So you have international superstars if that's what you wanted to do. That's not what they promised, but that's how people is internally kayfabing it in their mind. It is going to be a multi-week invitational of wrestlers from around the world, which could be fun. That could be very fun. And I'm okay with this, but I do want to see where it goes. What does it mean? If you become the World Cup champion, do you get to then wrestle Roman Reigns for the title? Do you wrestle for the Intercontinental Championship? Is Gunther going to be in this tournament? I wouldn't put him in it. He's already got a belt. He doesn't need to be in this tournament to put anybody over or to help build a contender or anything like that. You got 2 other guys in Imperium for that kind of shit. So I'm okay with the World Cup in theory, but it feels very TNA to me. And TNA would do these TNA X Cups, and it was just very random Japanese dudes, random Mexican guys. And the only reason I'm okay with it now is because I know WWE will be using people who are already on the roster, who they already have signed that maybe they're not doing much with. Or maybe they may do something even cooler, and it's the World Cup is for the women. Now, I know, we're not the biggest fans of, the women's thing. But they have been sort of toying with the idea of doing something else for the women. And since the women don't really have much going on their title picture, creating a new contender somehow, and I know they did trademark Queen of the Ring, so Queen of the Ring will be coming back. eventually. King of the Ring 2. They're probably going to turn that into an event, which they would be smart to do so. And in fact, it would have been smart to have a King and Queen of the Ring at Crown Jewel. That would have been smart too, but I don't know what the hell's going on with over there in Stanford. Anyway, I'm okay with the tournament only because they're going to fix the problems that TNA and a lot of other companies have when they have these tournaments. Like when they did the All Atlantic tournament for AEW, they used a lot of wrestlers that were already under AEW contracts, so that was fine. But then they had the New Japan guys who, again, you would have to know New Japan to know who these guys are. If you use only WWE guys, who all of WWE fans would probably know who they were, unless you use an NXT UK talent, then of course you're in the same wheelhouse of nobody knows who these fucking guys are. They're probably not going to be over, and it's going to make for very, very boring TV. And that's just the facts, Jack. People are going to be super fucking bored of watching Tyler Bates or JD McDonough or whoever the hell you're going to put in this tournament, and they're not over and they're not interesting. But overall, what makes the worth of a tournament isn't the tournament itself. It is the reward at the end. If you're just going to get a cup, then so what? You're just a guy walking around with a cup. It won't mean anything. It's going to mean just as much as that silly Owen Hart Invitational tournament that they had in AEW, where they got replica belts and they got to take a picture with Martha Hart, and that was it. I don't even think they even reference that fucking tournament anymore. I think maybe the tournament was used to make Adam Cole the number one contender. Oh no, or was it after he already lost the title matches? I don't know. I don't remember. But it ended up not really impacting storylines at all. So if the World Cup impacts storylines in some major way, like pushes somebody new to the top, pushes somebody new to one of the championships, leads to a main event or, something like that, okay. If it's just going to be, we got to have something to boost this episode of SmackDown because it's going to be on, we got to have, content. We need content. Okay, I'm not a fan of that. Also, very interesting that they're not doing it on Raw. So it begs the question of what they will be doing on Raw that would be similar. Because I doubt Fox will be like, okay, well, we want the World Cup to kind of tie in with FIFA and all that kind of stuff. And NBC wouldn't want something to tie into some of their sports properties that they're doing. They're going to want something for Raw too. So that kind of leads me, to be very interested in what they're going to do for Raw. Plus, Raw is 3 hours with a lot more talent. So it's like, are they going to do a Raw World Cup too? Or, what are they going to do? So I'm interested in it from that perspective. I'm not a doom and gloom guy in terms of I don't know what it is, therefore I hate it. Typically I hate things where I know it. I know exactly what it is, like War Games. I know exactly how fucking War Games works, which is why I don't like it. But, and I saw a lot of people kind of reflexively not liking the World Cup concept. I don't see why. It's just a tournament. But tournaments can be boring. And tournaments, depending on the talent you put in it and the direction that you're going in, can be very boring. And plus, I think that AEW is currently doing their Full Gear tournament too. I saw the brackets for that thing. Wow. They brought out all the heavy hitters. What a joke. In any event, I'm interested in the World Cup concept. I was interested in it before, and then they ruined it with fucking Shane McMahon. And I don't know why they did that. And I never got a full understanding of why Shane McMahon came in and at the very end and won the tournament. I just didn't get it. We was just having so much Shane McMahon at the time that Vince fell in love with his own son, and it was all Shane McMahon all the time around this. I think 2016 to 2018, it was just all Shane McMahon all the time. He was force feeding you Shane McMahon. It's just so much Shane McMahon. And it was a bad idea to kind of ruin the World Cup concept by, fucking around and giving it to Shane McMahon. It was dumb. So hopefully they won't do that this time. And it'll legitimately be what everybody wants it to be, which is 8 international superstars, one from the United States, one from Canada, one from, Africa, yada, yada, yada. And then the winner will face Roman Reigns for the title at Royal Rumble or something like that. Or on an episode of SmackDown, because I guess he has to wrestle on SmackDown at some point, right? So maybe they get a match on actual TV or something. But it could be fun. I'm going to hope that it's fun and it's not going to be something boring. But it's Triple H. And it's 49-51 in the direction of it being something that's just kind of bleh. Still, I'm gonna throw some bail on this one. All right, before we get into the predictions, let's talk about Sasha Banks real quick. So Sasha Banks, she did a very short, I think it was like a Twitter video, maybe Instagram or something like that, where she talked about she has something very special coming up soon. And it's the date she's been waiting for. It's going to be in November at some point. Some people have speculated she's going to pop up at Survivor Series because it's going to be in Boston. I don't know. I even saw somebody, and I guess it's kind of a joke, but somebody said that her non-compete will be up because apparently she got released, all those weeks ago. But she's been gone for a long time. And the way she was talking, it sounded like she is expecting her fans to continue to follow her wherever she goes or whatever, no matter what she does. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be wrestling related. It sounds like it might be something else. And that ought to be interesting one way or the other. I'm not going to get my hopes up on Sasha Banks returning to the ring. I think that it's been very refreshing not having Sasha Banks and not having Charlotte. And they could add something later once some of these other girls become a little bit more established. They can add something. But I hope we're not rushing to bring her back just because the situation that led her to leave is still there, which is Ronda Rousey. Like she didn't want to wrestle Ronda Rousey. So she's still there. Unless they bring her back on Raw, therefore she can avoid Ronda Rousey completely. But that was kind of the reason of her being on Raw in the first place. But I did see the Sasha Banks video. No, I'm not, marking out for the return of Sasha Banks. I'm not really thinking that much about it. I think she's been gone for so long now that she's a nice little treat, but she's not important anymore. They're actually doing a decent job of trying to fill that role for both her and Charlotte. And the longer they're gone, the better, because they're both overexposed and both were over pushed. And people, we needed something different. Now, I'm not saying that, anybody has come in and taken their spot because clearly they haven't. But not having Becky and Charlotte and Sasha around has been a bit of a blessing. Now, they decided to fill that hole with Damage Control, for Christ's sake. I don't know what. Oh, Damage Control. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? In any event, it should have given opportunities, but instead it kind of just showed that they were the stars. And that's a very unfortunate, but and it's the same thing with kind of Bianca Belair, where people were kind of frustrated about her title run. It's like, clearly it's because of this Damage Control thing. She started feuding with Damage Control the moment she won the title, and it's been nothing but Damage Control since. It's not been interesting, she can only be as interesting as her villains. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about before I get into predictions, Becky Lynch being on Young Rock. She is playing Cyndi Lauper on Young Rock. I know I should have mentioned this in news and notes, but I was trying to tear through this pretty quickly. I saw the clips, and if Cyndi Lauper spoke with a Brooklyn accent or a Queens accent that was still somehow hinted with Irishness, it would be perfect. Like, she got the look down because she already has the red hair, and I think Becky's probably a little bit bigger than Cyndi Lauper is. But it just comes across as more campy Young Rock shit, and I'm never watching an episode of Young Rock ever in my life, and I probably never will. But seeing who plays the wrestlers, it's almost all, or the various characters in Young Rock, it's always depression. Like they pour like 15 pounds of depression right in my face when I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mankind and Undertaker. I posted it on the community tab. It was so long ago. I'm telling you, brother, I I needed some serious help after seeing that shit. And it's not that bad. I'm not going to say it was as bad as, who's playing Triple H on Young Rock. Not that bad. But it's still not good. I see a lot of people are fans. They're like, oh, Becky's going to go Hollywood. I'm like, come on. She didn't nail the accent. I know it's hard to do, especially with her Irish accent. I know it's got to be hard to do. But they're basically just using her more for star power and exposing her more to a larger audience more than anything. I don't think she was expected to be any good at this. She's getting up there in age. I think she's in her mid-30s. So it's time to transition her to other things. Because, injuries and age will eventually catch up. So it's time to transition her to other things. So if you want to transition her to TV or something like that, okay, fine. But I wasn't blown away by what I saw by Becky Lynch on Young Rock. It didn't bode well for the future as far as I'm concerned. But what the hell do I know? I just watch television. I'm just a guy with a TV set. I got no special skills, just TV set. All right, let's get into the WWE 2022 Crown Royal pay-per-view. Crown Jewel. I'm sorry. Crown Jewel. Crown Royal. You see where my mind is. I'm not even a drinker, but you see where my mind at. All right. Let's get into an 8-match card. Probably too many matches, but whatever. This show probably going to be 3.5 hours. Is that too long for a show? 3.5 hours? I think the closer you get to 4, the more irate I get. So maybe we need to be, 3 hours flat, 3:15 at the most. There probably will be some surprises here too, and we're probably going to talk about that too as we go along. Match 1: Alexa Bliss and Asuka, the tag team champions, women's tag team champions, will be defending against Damage Control, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. A lot of people have been quite perturbed at the Damage Control thing continuing, especially since Alexa and Asuka just won the belts. And now they have to defend them against Damage Control. When people basically just said, why didn't they just win the belts at Crown Jewel? But something tells me that they're actually planning to have Damage Control have all the belts. So I do think that Alexa Bliss and Asuka will lose the belts to Damage Control. They're actually starting to do this thing with Io where she's taking a lot of credit for what's happening in terms of, she says like, I want my title. And then she will correct herself and say, our title. Like, so they're probably going to eventually end up turning her baby face, which is for the best because that's what she's really good at. But I definitely can see Damage Control winning the belts back. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Damage Control winning the belts back. I know it's going to piss some people off because it's hot-shotting, but do you really care about the women's tag team titles? Before you get upset, think about it. Do you really care about the women's tag team championships? I'm sure you don't. Men's tag team championships, the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland and Butch. Clearly the Usos are going to win this match. But it's just going to be a nice little paycheck for Butch and Ridge Holland. It ought to be very nice. It's nice that the company actually like Ridge Holland after, the whole shit with Big E. And he got a lot of shit for that. I think he got a lot of undue shit for that. Like, he was fresh out of the PC when that happened. When you look at some other places, guys been in the business 10, 15 years, laying on their fucking head, throw people on their fucking heads. This guy was still relatively a rookie. But there are still some people who have like some legitimate bitterness towards Ridge Holland. So it's interesting how over him and Butch are. And since Sheamus has gotten married, he is not going to be present. So this ought to be interesting. They're definitely going to cheat. Probably going to have Solo Sikoa interfere in this match or something like that. But the Usos are definitely going to win. Third match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Last woman standing for the Raw Women's Championship. Despite the fact that it makes no fucking sense and I hate it, Bayley's going to win. I don't see Bianca getting out of this miasma of damage control anytime soon. Something tells me that they probably should have put the belt on Bayley at Clash at the Castle, but they decided not to, so they're going to probably do it here. Well, not Clash at the Castle, but Extreme Rules. So they probably do it here. I fully expect Bayley to win the belt and for them to try to legitimize damage control by them having all of the belts. Bayley has to win one of these matches eventually, right? Like, she kind of has to eventually, right? And since they have no other contenders for Bianca Belair to wrestle, she might as well just drop the belt to Bayley and then go in chase mode for the rest of the year, I guess. So I'm going to go with Bayley. I'm definitely going to go with some chicanery. Some people are going to interfere. There's going to be some interruptions. There was some talk that Mia Yim is probably going to be re-signing to WWE sometime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, bring her back and put her in Damage Control to be the fourth member of Damage Control. And then you have 4 members of Damage Control, and then you'll have 4 babyfaces because you'll have Candice LeRae when she returns because she got jumped by Damage Control a couple of weeks ago. So that's what I think is going to happen here, is that they're probably going to have Mia Yim interfere somehow and cost Bianca Belair the title. They're going to maybe drag out the Mia Yim Bianca Belair thing, but they're going to have 4 members of Damage Control. And then there's going to be 4 members of Team Bianca, Asuka, Alexa, and Candice LeRae when she comes back. So that's how I see this goes down. I'm a huge fan of Bianca Belair personally, but she's been dragged down by Bayley, and this thing needs to end, and she needs to get diverted to somewhere else for a little while. So I can see, the Damage Control feud continuing, but against a different opponent, and I think that opponent would probably be Mia Yim. And no, I'm not excited about Mia Yim coming back. I'm not thrilled about it. I don't even like it. It just is what it is. And I can't argue against Triple H, who, likes boring, bland talent. It's just, I never met a guy who not only likes white toast, but likes serving it to other people. Like, come on, bro. All right. Braun Strowman versus Omos. Just a regular match between these two guys. Braun Strowman is going to win. The place should explode when Braun eventually powerbombs Omos. That needs to be the finish. I know that they're doing a thing where Braun Strowman power slammed MVP a bunch of times. Okay, that's fine, but he's got to powerbomb Omos. If you really want that place to blow up, a power slam would be good, especially a running power slam. That would be fine. But that place would go nuts if Braun powerbombed Omos. I think I'll probably be able to hear the response over here. But it all depends on how they're going to do it. I don't expect this match to be very long either. Triple H should be a fucking fool and a war criminal if this match is more than 5 minutes. 5 or 6 minutes tops. Anything else is absolute torture. All right, steel cage match. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross needs to win this match. I know Drew already lost to Kross, so maybe they're going to 50-50 book it, and now they want Drew to win. I'm not thrilled with that idea. I'm not married to it. I'm going to go with Karrion Kross because he's still not over enough. So they need to establish his dominance. And we need to write Drew off TV, if we're being honest. And these guys have been kind of going back and forth for a little while. So maybe we need to divert Drew McIntyre to somebody else too. So I'm going to go with the Karrion Kross winning and them doing something to write Drew McIntyre off TV for a little while so he can go and freshen up. Because Drew is stale as shit. He's been the same character for 2 years. And people was honestly kind of tired of it in mid 2021 when they put the belt on Randy Orton because he was like the hottest guy in the company, which says a lot that Randy Orton had been in the company 10 years, 20 years at that point, and was, hotter than the newly minted world champion because he was involved for slaying demons for a couple of months. But so Drew McIntyre definitely needs to be freshened up. And Karrion Kross needs to win because he needs to get over. So we're going to go with Karrion Kross. Next match, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. All right, so he took the United States title from Bobby Lashley. Brock Lesnar lost to Lashley at the Royal Rumble. They kind of did something at Elimination Chamber where they had Brock take Lashley out, and he never really kind of mixed up with each other. So I wouldn't be upset no matter who wins this match. I personally would probably go with Bobby Lashley and go with Lashley and Roman, especially at the Royal Rumble. That's personally what I would do. Especially since Brock is just there for the paycheck. He's not there for the long term. So I would go with Bobby. So we can do Bobby and Roman. And I think that's where the money is in terms of the Royal Rumble. So yeah, let's go with Lashley winning. Lashley defeats Brock. And we start our Lashley Roman feud. That needs to happen. Maybe it's kind of far out though. It'll be still early November, and they can't have the Royal Rumble until late January. But you can build up Roman and Lashley in a big match. You have over a month to build it. Yeah, you can do that, right? So I would go with Lashley and Roman for the main event of Royal Rumble. So I'm gonna go with Lashley winning this match. Oh, okay. Next match, the OC, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. Apparently, Rhea Ripley will also be there. Now, are we going to see the debut of the person who's going to nullify Rhea Ripley? I'm thinking it'll probably just be Raquel Rodriguez. That's what it's saying to me now. I was thinking about all the people that they could possibly bring in who used to work there and now doesn't. None of them match up physically with with Rhea Ripley. None of them do. It's like, I thought, okay, they've been talking about Mia Yim for a while. They've been talking about Tegan Nox for a while. Neither one of them are physically imposing enough to really be a challenge for Rhea Ripley. But Raquel is, and she's the only other one that is. Because there's only two people physically on the roster who can stand up to Rhea Ripley, and that's Bianca Belair, who's in a different match, and there's Raquel Rodriguez, who's been doing nothing for several weeks. Unless you're going to put Rhea in there with somebody who's completely different, but you also have to get somebody who fits the OC gimmick. And I don't know if Raquel fits that, but it'll definitely be an improvement over her smiling babyface thing so that she can do something different. There's also, of course, the likelihood that it's Beth Phoenix, which will harken the return of Edge. So I don't know. But if this person doesn't pop up on this show, I definitely expect him to pop up on Raw. So I'm gonna go with the Judgment Day winning this match. They kind of need to win. That's just saying something. All right, the main event: Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. Clearly, Roman's going to win this match. Anybody, again, if Triple H decides this match goes 25 minutes, he needs to get put in a blender. He needs to lose a hand, or something. We need to start treating him like the Yakuza. You fucked up, we cut off a piece of your finger. If this match goes 25 minutes or whatever, for any reason, if Roman Reigns stubs his toe and this match ends up just going longer than 15 minutes, we need to take a piece of Triple H's finger. And he needs to tighten up because at this point, I know the question has been out there for a while. Like, what does it take to get Logan and Jake Paul to be legitimate? But they're just not that right now. They're just not legitimate right now. Jake Paul didn't even knock out Anderson Silva. He won in a split decision or something like that, or unanimous decision or whatever. And this guy's an aging MMA fighter, not even like a professional boxer or anything like that. Still, and it was only 8 rounds too, so it's basically an exhibition. So they're trying to put over the Paul brothers as being two humble kids who they put their mind to something and then they go out and do it. which is good. You know, that should be relatable, but their personalities, of course, turn people off. But that should be relatable. You know, we're two humble kids from the Midwest, and we put our minds to something and we went out and did it. You know, that's good, inspirational, motivational stuff. But you're dealing with cool here when it comes to the bloodline. And not much can damage cool in terms of getting crowd reactions. You could be the best babyface in the world, the most purest motherfucker on planet Earth. You can't top cool. As long as somebody is cool, then it's over. And the bloodline is cool. You know. And part of that is Sami Zayn really did a good job of making the bloodline seem like they're very cool. So I definitely Roman Reigns is definitely going to win. And since I said it's going to be Roman and Bobby, I'm going to go with Roman. All right. So there's my crown jewel predictions. Thank you guys for listening. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.